I would like to talk to you about two very important concepts, introductory concepts that we'll use throughout the entire course. These are opportunity cost and marginalism. Opportunity cost goes along with the saying that there's no such thing as a free lunch. That's a famous economic saying, and what it means is no matter what you get, you have to give up something to get it. We all are faced with choices. Now let's say, for instance, you're going to go home and watch TV tonight. You say, that's free. I don't have to pay anything to watch TV. But think about what you give up. If you watch the latest episode of Survivor, you're giving up the opportunity to watch Say Yes to the Dress. You're giving up something to watch that. You're giving up the time you could spend studying, the time you could spend hanging out with your friends. You're giving up maybe some time you could spend working. So whatever's the best alternative you give up, that's the cost of you watching TV tonight. Here's another example. Have any of you ever run a marathon? My daughter ran in the New York Marathon and she was telling how much it costs. And I thought that was funny because they would have to pay me to run a marathon, but she was paying for the opportunity. And they give them a number of vests, they track them all the way through the course and they get to participate. And so she said, I can't remember, maybe like $250 is what it cost her to run the marathon. And we started talking about it and we said, no, it's costing you a whole lot more. In order for you to run the marathon, what are all the things you had to give up? Well, you had to give up all that time training, hundreds of hours training every week, running, that you could have been doing something else. You had to give up, you had to buy gym shoes, and girls, they have to buy outfits that look nice when they run. You had to give up the time, the money, and sacrifice all those things. So if we started adding up the cost of running the marathon, including her practice time, it all of a sudden became very huge. So it was obviously something she really wanted to do. Now maybe here's a more business example. When I was in charge of the Waco plant's finances, we had a lot of extra land around the Waco plant. And people would always come to me and say, I want to build something on that land. And they'd prepare their financial pro forma and say, I'm going to spend $1 million on machinery and hire this many people and do this. And I'd say, well, you haven't added any cost in for the land. And they say, oh, the land's free. It's just there and it's not being used, so it's free. I said, no, there's an opportunity cost. Once you use that land to build your project, we can't use it for something else. And right now we could sell that land for $500,000. So as a minimum, you have to put $500,000 in there as cost for the land. And they were always really upset about that, but I explained to them, you have to include the full cost, including opportunity cost. Okay, so you always give up something. Opportunity cost is the cost that you gave up. Here's a question for you to consider. What is your opportunity cost of going to college? Now, if you were going to be sitting home on the couch watching TV instead, you're not giving up very much. But if you would be working in a job full time, you're giving up what you could have made. And there's a lot of other costs associated with that. Okay, let's move on to the next topic now, marginalism. Marginalism simply means what is the incremental cost or revenue or dollars if I have one more, if I take one more step. So example, let's talk about eating a piece of pizza. You eat a piece of pizza, you like it. You eat another piece of pizza. How much do you like that second piece of pizza? How much do you like the third, the fourth, the fifth? The enjoyment you get from eating each of those pieces of pizza is different. By the seventh piece of pizza, you're probably not getting much enjoyment out of it at all. Let's take an example, the cost of going to visit your grandmother in Ohio. You say, sorry, grandmother, I can't come up and visit you because it cost me $300 for a ticket and I have to get off work. And your grandma says, oh, please come visit me. It turns out you're sent on a business trip to a city near her. Now what does it cost you to visit your grandma? It no longer costs you the $300 trip. The marginal cost is just what extra cost you have to pay to get that next benefit. And what you have to pay to get the next benefit is only maybe the car ride from where you're working over to see your grandmother. So it's very cheap and you go do it and grandma's happy. So we're going to talk about marginal sales, marginal cost, marginal utility. We're going to do marginal everything as we get through this class. And you need to understand that what marginalism means is if I add one more step, one more unit, one more sale, whatever the next thing I do is, what is the cost just for that step, not for everything up to that point. Talk to you real soon. Please share with me your questions.